It is the big show. Gordon Monson, Jake Scott, 97.5 and 1280 The Zone. Jake coming at you live from our Carrier Zone studios here at Vivint Arena. Austin Horton producing today across the glass from me. Safely social distancing from Casa de Monson is Gordon Monson. But also with me here in studio.
Just call me the broadcaster.
Oh, here we go.
The voice of the Aggies, the Utah broadcaster of the year. Let's see. What are you at the company? CFO or something?
Nah,
I mean, you're way up there.
Who knows?
At in the company, and subject of an anecdote in a column I read over the weekend. And I thought we would bring Scotty on for a second, Gordon, and let you guys talk it out. Talk it out. I heard there were some online social media issues, and we've got to get to the bottom of it.
Well, I did think of you, Jake, when I did that because of the ridicule I had taken from you about referring to certain people as coworkers.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
I don't know what's worse, coworkers or just the broadcaster.
See, okay, so here's the thing. First of all, I think coworkers is probably worse.
That's true. That's true.
But let me say it this way. I did see that Scotty had tweeted out that the broadcaster has a name. In all caps, too. You were yelling.
Well, I mean, I just thought that we'd had a good conversation that morning, and we had talked about Craig and who he was, and so, you know, when the column comes out, I'm like, all right, I'm going to get a little love this morning. Say, like, I talked to Scott Gerard, and here's a really cool story with Scott Gerard about Scott with Craig Smith in a coaches show hosted by Scott Gerard. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to get my name in the old trib. It's going to be fun. And then when I saw the broadcaster or the host, I was like, oh, man, come on.
See, okay, so there's two ways of looking at it.
Like, if you ever write an obituary like the deceased.
Oh, man.
But see, here's the thing. Two ways of looking at it. One is the way that you're looking at it, Scotty. The other way of looking at it is I talked with you and another person about Craig Smith. And rather than, because I was describing various things about Craig in the column, and see, I do it out of love. I do it out of protection for you.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't want to reveal my sources.
Wait.
And if I named you in there, then everybody would know that, okay, well, Scott told him this story, and Scott is one of his sources. So I was trying to really put up a shield of protection.
Okay, but everybody knows who hosts the coaches show.
Yeah.
Like you can't be like, there's...
You could disguise it better, Gordon. I read it. I was like, oh, Scotty told him that.
Well, but yeah, I know, but it's a little less descriptive.
And it wasn't even my fault. It was Ajay. You could have just thrown Ajay under the bus because, he forgot to pack a cord that we needed for that show.
Well, at no time did I infer that it was the broadcaster's fault.
It was Ajay's fault?
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
Wow.
So
No,
see,
I'm sure it wasn't.
Did he have his coat on?
nobody cares about that.
It was a long sleeve.
Was it cold?
Nobody cares about that, Ajay. Just get me out of this closet.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, so, Gordon, I guess lesson to take from this is good. Protecting.
I was a little surprised, Gordon. I thought, I've known you and worked with you since 2003. We got 18 good years under our belt, and I thought I'd get a little shout out, but that's all right. It's okay.
Okay. Well, next time I'll make sure and include your name, but I want you to know it's important from me to you for you to know that it was done out of love, and not out of disrespect. Because
it does seem like it's hard.
Yeah, Well, what? I think, look, it's going to be the big show with Jake Scott and the newspaper columnist guy.
Can we get that?
Okay.
Can we actually get that done? That'd be great.
Yeah.
Let's get the voice guy on that.
That's especially good because
Or get it done by June.
Jake and I used to do the Gordon Monson show together. Jake didn't even have his name on.
I did not. Yeah.
It was still like the Gordon Monson show with Jake Scott, though, right?
I was there. Yeah. I was with Jake Scott.
I don't remember the with Jake Scott part.
He's like, I didn't sign off on that.
but anyway, in fact, yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Next time I do anything like that, Scott, I am going to put your name front and center. But I did that because you and I talk about a lot of things, and sometimes it's all positive, and sometimes it can be. The thing I like about talking to you, Scotty, about anything as background is that you'll say it like it is.
Yeah.
Just like you do on your show. So,
look, if I were to say Craig Smith's a dumpster fire as a hire for the University of Utah, then yeah, you keep my name out of that.
Keep that on the DL.
We can say, that broadcaster really thinks Craig Smith isn't going to get it done. But I'm propping the guy up and loving him up and giving him things for people to be fired up about.
Really nice story.
Yeah.
Well, you got me there, actually. But I just felt like because I think I said to you that when I talked with you that it wasn't for attribution, that I wasn't going to name you. Didn't I say that?
I was surprised when you made me sign that NDL. That was
blindsided by that.
It's all good, Gordon. You know I love it.
Yeah, I know, but that was funny when you sent that out. I saw it and I laughed. I laughed out loud. And here I was. It wasn't done to disrespect you. I didn't go out of my way to disrespect you. It was done more like, okay, if anybody has a problem with anything I say, because it's amazing how many times that happens that I didn't want anybody pointing a finger at you.
Well, I appreciate it. Well, that's good, because if they do only win 2 games over the next 2 years, then people are like, well, who was that Jack A up in Logan who said he was going to be good? So, maybe you got a point there.
Huh?
But next time, okay, now that you brought this to my attention, next time I'm going to throw caution to the wind.
All right, let's
roll. And I'm going to include Scott Gerard's name because, Scotty, as you know, and regardless of what Austin and Jake are going to think by me saying this, and I'm kissing someone's butt or something, you know how the high respect
I know.
I have.
I know. I appreciate that.
So, that was funny, though.
I'm just still surprised, Gordon, how poorly you disguised it. If that was, I guess you could have done worse by going like a Declo-born broadcaster. Even using.
Well, how else am I supposed to tell that anecdote without it? How could I have hidden it?
Well, you might as well have just
use
thrown
the
it
name.
in.
Yeah, you don't.
Okay.
You should have used Ajay's, though. You should have thrown Ajay under the bus.
Due to incompetence from the engineer, they were forced to be.
See that on off button? Let's turn that off.
And then at the end, I could have put, and nobody cares about him.
We do, though.
We do.
Yeah, we love
He's
Ajay.
a good man.
We tease. And you know what? It just happens that some of the best stories ever created and told happen to surround him.
Nobody cares about that.
Like the time that
situational punting. If I ever write a column on that,
that's amazing. We don't have to tell it today, but the story about him sharing a room.
With Kevin White.
White is
so
one
good.
Is one for the ages. It really is. All right. So while we have Scotty here, real quick, Gordo, your thoughts on how this all played out over the weekend, and where Utah State goes from here. Utah, what kind of coach they're getting. Let's get your thoughts on it because you're definitely close to it.
Yeah, I think it was I think it's a great hire. I think I don't know, and I always have a tough time trying to project what somebody's going to do when they take a next level of competition. And I'm not saying that the Pac-12 is crazy, ahead of the Mountain West Conference, but I think what we've seen in the last little bit is that in the NCAA tournament is just how good the Pac-12 is. And to recruit to that level, to be able to win at a high level, at that level, I think he can do it. I think it's a home run hire. One thing I can guarantee, he's going to re-energize the program. Anybody saw the press conference knows that he brings that level of energy and the excitement. He'll engage with boosters and fans. He'll do everything he can to get the Huntsman Center back to what it used to be as far as an atmosphere standpoint. The recruiting thing, he's got to get himself a great staff. He's got to get himself some guys that can go out and hit the pavement and make it happen. And so there's going to be some interesting questions there. I think he can do it. I have pretty good confidence in it. But you know what? This is the big time. I mean, this is This is a big step up for him. It'll be interesting to see how it plays out.
Well, yeah. Can I make one thing clear to our listeners? I just want them to know that the part in the column where I essentially said that Craig Smith lied to his players, that did not come from the broadcaster.
Oh, okay, well, I appreciate that.
Yeah, there you go. There's a good line to draw. All right.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you, Scotty.
Yeah,
it's good to see you, buddy. We appreciate you. Hanson Scotty every single day from 10 to 2. Gordon, the broadcaster. Come on.
I was trying to protect the man.
Yeah, but then
from complimenting him.
Yeah, right, and then disguise it.
Well,
I also
he's not deep throat. He's not an informant.
But
I also included in there that Craig Smith lied to his players, which he did. So I mean,
but you could tell like the anecdote a little bit more vaguely. Like a difficult,
like how? How could I have told that without just saying a broadcaster?
He had to do an interview, an exclusive interview.
Okay. All right.
In
a closet, really?
Because of extenuating circumstances, yes.
Well, I had to explain that.
Why?
Well, why else would someone do an interview in a closet?
You could have said a broadcaster will call Got Sherrard.
I called the man a liar in that column. I don't want that attributed to anybody falsely.
Yeah, but not that part.
I know. I guess it's
the broadcaster dug upon his small town Idaho roots, and
I did think of you guys when I especially after I did think about it prior to, but I thought about it when Scotty, called attention to it. I thought, I'd call him coworker.
See, I think coworker is more endearing than just some generic broadcaster.
Some schlub.
Coworker, you at least acknowledge that we work with you.
You're claiming them in a little way.
I said a broadcaster. I said the show host. What? I mean, what? How is that negative?
It wasn't his name.
Yeah. By the way, with being like very specific about who it is, but like going as far as you can without using his name.
It's
and not
different.
using his name.
But when you put someone's name in something, then all kinds of thoughts come to the reader's mind. And I was trying to detach that, especially from the part where I said that Craig Smith had told his players earlier in the week that he was going nowhere. So I just thought I would leave everyone's name out of it to avoid those accusatory comments coming their way.
Yeah, but you see, like, the most infamous source of all time, Deep Throat. The brilliance about that is nobody had any idea who it was.
Yeah, but the part about the broadcaster in the closet was if I were to mention Scotty there, then people would think, oh, he talked to Scotty Gerard, and maybe Scotty is the one that called Craig a liar.
Well, you could have just said not Scott Gerard said that Craig Smith was dishonest.
A separate source.
A separate, not Scott Gerard.
And not Got Sherrard either.
Right.
So you guys really want me to go in circles to include the name, essentially.
I think if it had been Al Michaels, Jim Nance, you would have named him. But I think Declan Bourne, Scotty, wasn't big enough.
Wasn't important enough.
Well, I don't care about them. I care about Scotty.
Anyway, thanks to Scott for jumping on with us. Do we still want to hit the split story open, or should we just continue on the pace that we are here? We'll just do it.
I don't care anymore.
Craig Smith is the new head basketball coach at the University of Utah. We talked about it with Scotty, how that unfolded over the weekend. You wrote about it, as we referred to, sltrib.com. I don't know, where do you want to start with this whole thing, Gordon?
There's all kinds of freeway exits off this freeway, aren't there? I guess I would start by feeling a little bit bad for Utah State. I mean, this is a guy who they saw something in. They bring him in, 3 years, 3 qualifications for the NCAA tournament, and they've got things rolling in a very nice direction. And then to have a neighboring school take him away from them because that school can pay more money, that's a punch to the gut, man. And I feel bad for Utah State, but this is the way the game is played these days. And I just get tired of coaches who say it's all about team, guys. Don't care about yourself, don't care about your role, don't care about the sacrifices I ask you to make, care about the name of the team and the collective good. And then the second he gets an offer for a pay raise, he's gone. And I understand it, and I don't want to hit that too hard. I mean, it's not like we can hold it against him per se, but I think it's unfortunate in the college game that happens so frequently. Because Utah State is a proud basketball program. That's a very nice school up there, and essentially what they've been told by the actions of the man who led their basketball program back to a very nice place, that you're not good enough for me, I'm going down here. And that's a place I would start. Now, the other part of the equation is
can I give
all the
thoughts
good
on
things.
That?
Yeah.
Before we press on, because I think there is a lot to get to here, but the PR of it with coaches can be better, but it doesn't change the underlying fact that Craig Smith doubled, if not tripled, his salary. And if you humanize it, he's not going to. It's a very understandable decision. But what I don't understand is why coaches. I mean, if he did meet with his team and tell them that they're staying. Remember, Gary Anderson did the same thing before he went to Wisconsin. I don't understand why they do that. Scotty tweeted out a quote from Matt Wells when he was at Utah State. And I won't read the whole thing for time's sake, but basically what Matt Wells said is, hey, I love it here, but of course my phone's on. I'm a human. I've got a heartbeat and a brain. And if, people want to reach out to me and talk to me about different situations that are out there, then of course I'm going to listen to what they have to say. It's a tough business, but at least he was honest about it. Right.
Yeah. Well, he was sort of honest. He also had said the same things to his players, that he was going to be there for them and all this other stuff. Those coaches who say what Matt Wells said there, then don't complain if another school looks enticing to your star quarterback and he wants to transfer.
Okay, like I said, the messaging could be better. Absolutely.
Well,
if you're a coach, you should think about it.
It's a double standard, because guys who do that, guys who transfer at times are it's changing slowly, but coaches, it really bugs them. And back in the day, some coaches wouldn't even sign off on it. But they're perfectly willing to sign off on that, getting their raise, But if there's a better circumstance for an athlete who's only getting a scholarship and not being righteously paid, and he wants to go somewhere else to better his circumstances, well, that's a different situation, according to the coach. So I think there's hypocrisy here.
What about what about the micro, though? I mean, because the system is the system, and I know you don't like it. We've talked about it many, many times, but it doesn't change the present, which is that Craig Smith is leaving Utah State. They have to look for a new coach, and those players have to decide what they want to do. Nimi Keita announced today he's going pro. Not a big surprise by any means, for a variety of reasons. And we're talking about the very same people who have to make decisions now, who the coach who just jumped to Utah reassured them earlier in the week that he was going nowhere.
Yeah. It's possible that earlier in the week he wasn't.
Oh, jeez. Okay. Yeah.
I guess what's the end game here with your point?
That there's hypocrisy, and this is what we're talking about. I'm not talking. We haven't gotten to the point about the advantages for Utah yet. We're talking about what happened to Utah State, and that's unfortunate. It's the way it is. I get that, and he's going to make a whole lot more money. I get that too. It's part of the game, but don't listen to I would say to the players, don't listen to the coach when the coach tells you to sacrifice your own individual good for the good of the great, for the collective unit of the team.
So what would your advice to the coach be then? I mean, I told you I liked Matt Wells' comment that you didn't seem to like that. What would your advice to Craig be if he's in the future in this scenario?
Not to lie to his players. That's what I would say. That's what I would say. Don't lie to your players. And I agree with you. It's not like I'm sitting here going, how dare Craig Smith do that? How dare he leave for Utah? That's not what I'm saying at all. I mean, I get it. Like you said, he's going to triple his income. So I understand that. But be careful about what you say to your players in the meantime. That's what I would say about what happened at Utah State. As far as what's going on with Utah, I understand the hire completely. Craig Smith did a fantastic job at Utah State, and Utah, like Scotty was talking about there, has not exactly been an exciting program of late. Hasn't been a lot of enthusiasm there. Craig Smith will bring that, and he'll bring it in as long as the day is long, or whatever. So he's a terrific coach, and I would bet at this time, I don't know this for a fact, none of us does, but he's going to be successful at Utah. I would expect him to lift that program up and do some wonderful things there. And so Utah, it's a good hire for Mark Harlan, as far as I can tell, and I think it'll be a benefit to the University of Utah, as we talked about earlier about them letting Kraskowiak go at this time. Well, this is going to bring a real quick boost to Utah basketball.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy. There's no doubt, and he's got great coaching chops. We'll see if he can get a player like Keita to come to Utah, because that obviously made a big difference for him in Logan. I just want to point this out while we're talking about it, and I know Scotty was tweeting about it over the weekend, that Craig Smith's buyout is around 1.3, give or take, $1.3 million. And considering what Utah had to pay out for the previous staff, and the contract they just inked itself to, I mean, that's a lot of cash money.
Yeah, it is. It's not been a cheap week or a couple of weeks for Mark Harlan.
Nope.
So I think he'll go in. He'll do a good job. He'll energize the players. He'll energize the coaches. He'll energize the fan base. And, of course, most importantly, he's got to win. But I think he'll do that, too. That would be my inclination as far as what Craig Smith is going to add to Utah basketball. So we go forward from here, and we watch what he's going to do there, and that part of it is all good. Craig Smith is not at Utah State. It's not like he brought in all kinds of talent all over the place. I mean, Keita was a real nice get, but those guys hustled. Craig Smith got so much out of those players at Utah State, and I think he'll do the same thing at Utah. If he can get a higher caliber of athlete at Utah, then he'll get every bit of it out of them too. And I would bet that's the way it's going to go.
Let's talk about the Jazz game night tonight. They're taking on the Cavs here at Vivint Arena. Tip-off 7 o'clock. Pregame begins at 6. Certainly a not the most spectacular of matchups, but the Jazz are playing much better, Gordon, and they won both games over the weekend against the Grizzlies. There are a few places to start, I suppose, but I thought they looked a lot better in game number 2 than 1, and you would think otherwise, right? Because Memphis made some adjustments in the first game on Friday, and you thought, well, are they going to give the Jazz a run for their money? And the answer to that question is no.
Yeah, I remember I took quite a bit of heat for my 55% prediction on that first Memphis matchup, and turned out I was kind of right.
They were up 21.
Yeah.
And
What'd they win by?
They only won by
3.
Could they have lost that game?
Not really.
I mean, you could lose
Yeah,
any
what do you
game.
mean? If he makes a shot, who was it, Brooks?
Yeah.
If he makes that three-pointer at the end, the game goes in overtime.
I mean, you're right to say this. It's any possibility is 50-50. It happens or it doesn't. So
And that particular shot was the worst shot I've ever seen.
Yeah, but it almost went in.
Yeah.
Kind of.
It almost went in.
Kind of.
So anyway, yeah, the Jazz bounced back from that game and played.
Why did we start
well.
there?
What?
The one part of the whole weekend where the game was actually close, that's where we started?
That's because I texted him and
Oh,
said sorry.
We had to get that straight.
We did?
But yeah, well,
A certain radio broadcaster on Friday was right, and I was wrong.
Okay.
so anyway, the second game, obviously we saw what happened there, and Donovan Mitchell is playing some pretty nice offensive and, according to Quinn Snyder, improved defensive basketball right now.
Yeah, Donovan was amazing against Memphis in Game 2. But, yeah, you're right. He could be NBA Player of the Week. He certainly has to be up there. His stats have just been off the charts. But I think I'm impressed with where he's aggressive and kind of how he chooses to be. You got to like the 7 assists against Memphis. And, it was – let's see. It was – I'm trying to remember the stat we had in the post game. It was the fewest shots that Donovan's taken to get 35 points. Or maybe it was 30-plus points. I think that's what
How many shots did he take? I don't recall.
17. He was 12 of 17, 5 of 7 from 3.
That's pretty good.
35 points, 7 assists.
And the amazing thing about it is when you watch the release on his shot, those shots, so many of those shots are just true as true can be. I mean, they're barely touching the rim. It's just splash, and it's fun to watch. It looks effortless. He makes it look effortless. And, yeah, Donovan Mitchell, he's going to end up being better than we thought he was going to be, and that's saying something.
Well, in this particular case, he's gotten back to so Donovan's not bad on the off-the-bounce three. He's not. He's above average on that shot. But catch-and-shoot three, he's the second-best catch-and-shoot three-point shooter in the league.
Well, that's pretty good.
He's gotten back to, he took a ton of catch-and-shoot threes in that Memphis game. And what that is, Gordon, is that's relying on your teammates to get you the ball back when you're open, right?
And they're looking for him.
And they're looking for him. But there were a couple games there where I thought Donovan was trying to be aggressive, but that meant seeking his zone. Like there was – he played much better tonight, I felt – or last night, excuse me, Gordon. Saturday night. I don't know what day it is. With that kind of game, 35 points, that he did in the Washington game where he had 42. Because he took 30 shots to get to that 42 points.
Great point.
And in this case, I hate the cliche, but he kind of let the game come to him. He let his teammates work it and get him open because he's number one on the scouting report, right? It's tough to get Donovan open. So he lets his teammates work it, and he gets that catch-and-shoot three, and he makes that shot as much as almost anybody in the league.
Jake, when you said tonight, and then you said last night, and then you said Saturday night, you don't know what day it is anymore because you do so many games. It reminded me of an interview I saw Steve Perry did once when he was touring with Journey. He said that when he was traveling so much, night after night, shows night after night in different hotels, different cities, doing different, traveling all over. He said he used to take light bulbs from his house and screw them into his hotel room just to make him feel a piece of home with him because he'd forget what city he was in, what hotel he was in, because he was doing so many shows. Same thing with you. You do so many games, you get mixed up what day it is.
Occasionally. I should have known because I had a really nice day off yesterday, so I should have known better than that. But the point is, I think Donovan and the Jazz, for that matter, after a brief hiccup of not playing as well, have gotten back to playing the type of basketball that was really, really successful there for them. And I think that's more important than winning a couple of games against Memphis. And Memphis is actually the perfect team for them to kind of prove that because Memphis plays really hard. And they've got a young core that is not untalented. So there's a reason that they're going to be pushing for a playoff berth. And for the Jazz to, beat them in game one, okay, but really mop the floor with them pretty much in game number 2, I thought said a lot.
And when you look at the Jazz, I agree with everything you just said. Well, perfectly put. And as I look at the schedule ahead, I see W's all over the place for the Jazz. I mean, they're going to win a lot of games. And, in fact, they could win almost every game up until that back-to-back Lakers, those Laker games in L.A. And if the Lakers are in better shape than they are currently, then we'll see about that. But there's a lot of W's in their future, especially if they play the way you just described. And I would expect them to. Tonight against the Cavaliers, Jared Allen is out. Everybody knows about Kevin Love being out. Prince is questionable. The Cavaliers are dead last in offensive efficiency. Their rating are 30th out of 30 teams. the Jazz are going to crush this team tonight.
Yeah.
They're going to crush this team. Well, I mean, I guess there is a slight chance that things could go a little weird, but I certainly wouldn't expect that to happen. If my winning percentage was at 55% the other night, I would put it at, I'd probably put it 95% tonight.
Yeah, I think it's likely. But then again, they lost to Washington a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah,
but
true.
the way that they are playing is different, though. They limped into that Washington game, if you recall. Losing to what was it, or beating Golden State before, but just barely in an ugly game, if I'm remembering correctly. I should look that up. But yeah, they weren't playing the same way going into that Washington game. So I agree with you. I don't expect the Cavs to put up much resistance.
Well, this is they're an NBA team, so they can. This is why Quinn Snyder stresses so much about being focused and playing with force, because when the Jazz don't do that, then they're vulnerable. They could lose. They could lose again if that's the way they come out. And this is what Donovan's trying to prevent. You've heard him talk about coming out aggressive, and he's trying to make his team aggressive, not just like you were talking about, not just creating shots for himself, but trying to get everybody into that flow. And if the Jazz do that, then, like I said, there's very little chance that they'll lose most of these games, and certainly this one tonight. Can it happen? Yeah, it can, but not if they're focused. Not if they're focused. The Cavaliers won't be able to. If the Jazz put up a modicum of resistance on defense, the Cavs are going to struggle to score on them. And their net rating overall is like 29th in the league. They do have those 17 victories like you talked about, but I think they're 12th in the East. But I just don't see this team being able to prosper against the Jazz if the Jazz are about their business at hand.
And I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about defense over the weekend, Gordon, because I harp on that a lot. But the adjustment they made on Ja Morant and Royce O'Neal specifically was great. And he only had 12 points and 4 of 12 shooting on Saturday. And that's despite the fact that the Jazz not only had 21 turnovers, but the most live ball turnovers they've had all year long. And that's Ja Morant's game is in transition. So it took great effort to limit his transition productivity to just 12 points. I mean, it actually is pretty amazing when you think about it.
What do you make of the turnover thing?
It doesn't matter as much as you think it does, obviously. They set records turning the ball over, but still won by 16 and really won by more than that.
Well, that's what happens when you shoot 50% and better than 42% from three.
It can matter. It matters when you turn the ball over. Like we talked about that one game where the turnovers 100% cost them the game. What game was that? And they only had 14 total, but there were 12 live ball turnovers and like 3 in crunch time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say this, that when they play a real quality team, a team at the top in the playoffs, if they turn the ball over 21 times, they're going to lose. They're going to lose way more than they win, for sure. And so that's why I stress that, not necessarily against the Memphis Grizzlies in March, but if you're going up against the Lakers or the Clippers this time around in June or whatever it is, then they're going to pay for that.
Not if they're 19 of 45 from the three.
Yeah. Well, we'll see whether that's the case against that top-level competition as well. But it's a habit. It's something that they just have to be more careful in taking care of the ball. And I get it. I mean, they were up big in that game and for most of it. And maybe you do get a little more casual when that's the case.